As an actor, I try to do two things. I try to entertain and try to get a message across, and even though I play a tough guy deep inside, I'm a old-fashioned tough mama's boy. It's love though. The people love me and I love them for loving me. I give it back to them and whatnot, I am honored. I'm a people person, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that they have a love for me after all these years. Mr. T was Hollywood's toughest guy, but behind the cameras he had bitter enemies. During the A-Team, one co-star refused to speak to him for 16 weeks straight. They communicated only through other actors. Another star called him not a real actor in the press. But the most shocking feud was with someone who made him famous. This person broke his nose during filming and called him a slave driver. The hatred got so bad that Mr. T stormed off set multiple times. What happened between them will surprise you. Lawrence Tro was born on May 21, 1952, in one of the roughest parts of Chicago, a place called the Robert Taylor Homes. It was a poor and dangerous public housing project where gangs and crime were everywhere. He was the youngest of 12 kids. They all lived together in just 3 small rooms. When Lawrence was 5, his father left the family. After that, it was just his mother raising them alone. She was deeply religious and survived on only $87 a month in welfare. That wasn't nearly enough. They often went hungry. Gangs ruled the streets. Wasn't safe to walk outside. His older brothers told him he had to be strong, so he started working out. By the time he was 10, he already understood how black men were disrespected in America. That feeling never left him. When he was around 8 years old, something happened that haunted him for life. He looked out the window and saw a man being stabbed in the street. Blood covered the sidewalk. No one helped. That moment did something to him. It made him want to be someone no one could hurt. It made him want to be a protector. Just 12 years old, he started learning self-defense. In 1966, Lawrence joined Dooner Vocational High School. He was unstoppable on the football field and in the wrestling ring. He became a 3-time city champion in wrestling and earned a full scholarship to Prairie View A&M University in Texas in 1970. He studied mathematics and dreamed of playing in the NFL. But that dream didn't last long. In 1971, just 1 year later, he was expelled because of poor grades. Crushed him. He tried a few other schools afterward, but the same thing happened again and again. He just couldn't focus in class. His mind was too active. He had a photographic memory and too many things going on in his head. That failure pushed him toward the military. He joined the U.S. Army in 1975 and became a military policeman with the 25th Infantry Division. He was sent to Fort McCoy in Wisconsin. During basic training, he was chosen as the best trainee out of 6,000 people. His leaders gave him a special letter to honor his performance. He led his entire unit to perfect scores during training drills. But his time in the Army didn't last long. He left the service in 1976 after about a year. Some people say he was discharged because he refused to cut his mohawk, but that's not true. He didn't even have the hairstyle while he was in the Army. He only adopted it after seeing a photo in National Geographic in the late 1970s. The picture showed Mandinka warriors from West Africa. He said the haircut was a symbol of strength and respect, something black men were often denied in America. One of the most shocking stories from his Army days happened during boot camp. He made a small mistake, maybe arriving late or breaking a rule. As punishment, his drill sergeant told him to drop and give push-ups. He didn't stop until he hit 1,000. That number isn't a joke. He kept going until his arms gave out. It was a brutal test, but he passed it. That toughness became part of who he was. Prepared him for everything that came next. After leaving the Army in 1976, things got dark for Lawrence. He had no steady job. Money was tight. Around 1977, he went through a short but painful phase where he started stealing small things, mostly shoplifting. It didn't last long, just a few months, but it was enough to shake him. He turned back to his faith, started praying again, and promised himself he'd never go down that road again. By 1979, he had found a new path. He became a nightclub bouncer. That's when everything started to change. He worked the doors at wild Chicago clubs like Dingbats Disco. Trouble always found him, but he never backed down. Between 1977 and 1980, he got into more than 200 fights. Not just little scuffles, real fights. Once a man came at him with a knife. Mr. T had started wearing gold chains by then. Trophies he collected from people he threw out of the club. That day, one of those chains caught the knife. It might have saved his life. After that, he wore more chains. Not just as jewelry but as armor. He later said the gold stood for something deeper. It reminded him of the chains slaves were forced to wear. He turned those iron shackles into gold, wore them proudly, and called it a symbol of survival. He even gave deep meaning to his earrings. 3 in his right ear for the Holy Trinity, 4 in his left for the 4 seasons and the 4 Gospels, 7 altogether for the 7 locks on Samson's head, and the 7 days the Israelites marched around Jericho. Every part of his style had a purpose. But one of the boldest moves he ever made was when he changed his name. On July 15, 1970, at just 18 years old, Lawrence legally became Mr. T. He was tired of hearing people call black men boy. He wanted respect, and he wanted it from the very first word out of someone's mouth. So he said, "I'm Mr. T." No one would ever call him anything less again. By 1980, Mr. T entered a national TV contest called Games People Play. The goal was to find the toughest bouncer in America. He won twice. He broke down doors, threw stuntmen like ragdolls, and bloodied a $280 lb opponent in a boxing match in under a minute. He gave his $3,000 prize to charity. His strength wasn't just in his muscles, it was in his values. During this time, he was also working as a private bodyguard for the rich and famous. From 1978 to 1988, he protected more than 200 celebrities. He even turned down a shocking $75,000 offer to assassinate someone. His business card said, "Next to God, there is no greater protector than I." And he meant every word. Back in 1980, Lawrence Turo was just a tough guy from Chicago who had worked as a bouncer and a bodyguard. Nobody in Hollywood really knew his name. But then Sylvester Stallone saw him on a show called Games People Play and couldn't believe the power and presence this man had. He said, "I feel sorry for the guy who has to box him." That one moment changed everything. Stallone called him in and gave him the role of Clubber Lang in Rocky III, which was released in 1982. Even though Mr. T had never acted before, his intense attitude and raw energy made him stand out. He delivered the famous line, "I pity the fool," which actually came from something he had said in an interview. Stallone thought it was perfect and added it to the script. But not everything went smoothly. During filming, Mr. T clashed with Stallone over the brutal training sessions that lasted up to 12 hours a day.